Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Bay Area Case Studies Virtual College Fair. Thank you so much for joining us. We are really excited you are here. Before we get started, we do have a few housekeeping items to note. First, if you have any questions at all, feel free to use the Q&A button to type in your questions to the presenters at any time. They are here and ready and available to answer your questions that you have. Your camera and microphone are off. You are muted and your video is off. The panelists can't see or hear you. There are more sessions happening. This is one of many college presentations being offered. Feel free to sign up for more sessions for the next time slot at the same place where you registered for this one. And lastly, all sessions are being recorded and will be available at strivescan.com/BACS. We are currently in session 5, and this is the order of presentations for tonight. You will hear from University of Notre Dame, Trinity University, Swarthmore College, Marist College, University of Miami, and Olin College of Engineering. So without further ado, I'll get out of the way and introduce our first representative from the University of Notre Dame.
Thanks so much. My name is Maria Finan, and I'm an Assistant Director of Admissions at the University of Notre Dame. I'm so excited to be here with you all tonight. I also happen to be a Notre Dame graduate myself. I'm actually what we call a double domer. So I not only got my bachelor's degree at Notre Dame, but I also got my master's degree as well. If you're not familiar with Notre Dame, we're located in northern Indiana. We are an undergraduate research institution. We are also a faith-based institution, so we are Catholic. Our students come from all 50 states and from around the world, from all different backgrounds, all different degrees of religiosity. I'm really excited to share kind of what makes Notre Dame unique, and one of those pieces actually goes back to our founding. Our founder, Father Sorin, envisioned a university that would be one of the most powerful means for doing good in this country. That idea of being a force for good is really key to the Notre Dame experience. So not only would you receive an excellent education in the classroom, but we really focus on that full person development. You can study a variety of different things at Notre Dame. I'm not going to talk specifically about different programs, but know that it's really built into the Notre Dame curriculum for you to have an opportunity to explore. So although we have great research programs, lots of opportunities for you to engage in hands-on learning, we do have our liberal arts core, and you'll take classes and subjects across different disciplines. You'll apply with an intended major, but you don't officially join a college or major until the end of your freshman year, which gives you an opportunity to explore and find what you're most passionate about at Notre Dame. One of the hallmarks of the Notre Dame experience is our incredible community. At any given time, approximately 80% of our students are living on campus. As a freshman, you'll be randomly assigned to one of our 32 different residence halls. Those dorms are all single-sex, mixed major, mixed year. The dorms have their own mascots and colors, events, things that make them unique. And most students will stay in the same residence hall as long as they live on campus. You'll stay for 6 semesters. Maybe some of that time will be spent abroad or studying in a different part of the US. And then you still have the option to remain on campus as a senior. We have a lot of seniors who opt into leadership roles, and that mixed major and mixed years piece really creates a strong community from the moment you step foot on campus. It's really important to us that you feel like you're part of the Notre Dame family. I mentioned that we are a Catholic university. You don't have to be Catholic to go to Notre Dame, as long as you're open to having conversations about faith. I always think the biggest way that faith is really lived out on campus is through students' dedication to service. Service is by no means a requirement, but Notre Dame's mission of being a force for good in the world is a way that I think students really live out those values. I often get questions about, well, what about beyond Notre Dame? Our students are obviously really involved while they're on campus in extracurriculars, research, studying abroad, They also have a lot of internships and other amazing opportunities that they take advantage of over the summer. Something we're really proud of at Notre Dame is our 98% retention rate and 95% on-time graduation rate. So we know that college is a really big investment for you and your family, and it's really important to us that you're able to graduate on time. In a normal year, within 6 months of graduation, 98% of all of our students, regardless of what they've studied, have found their next step. For many students, that's a full-time job. Some students opt to go on to graduate school, they enter the military, they do full-time service. An amazing resource is our alumni network. We have approximately 230 alumni clubs domestically, and we have another 40 or so internationally. Almost anywhere you go will connect you with the Notre Dame family, and that'll be a really incredible resource for you. An important part of our review process that I always want to share is that we are need blind for our domestic students. So if you are a US citizen, a permanent resident, or an undocumented student, your family's ability to pay is not a factor in our decision-making process. We do commit to meet 100% of demonstrated financial need for all of our domestic students as well. So if we admit you to Notre Dame, we want to make sure that it's financially viable for you and your family to join the Notre Dame family. Lastly, I do want to note that we are test optional, and we really do mean optional. If you feel like submitting a test score will strengthen your application, you're absolutely able to do that. But if you don't feel like it'll strengthen your application, you certainly don't have to. I really hope that if any of this has resonated with you, you'll consider learning more about Notre Dame. I will also share out my personal contact information in the chat. So if you have any questions, I do cover all of Northern California and I'll be your representative. So feel free to reach out in the future if you have any questions. Thank you so much. And I will pass this off to Trinity.
Awesome, thank you. The next representative is from Trinity University.
Hi, y'all. Thanks so much for joining. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. Hopefully everyone can see that. Wonderful. So my name is Elena Wilson. I'm with Trinity University located in San Antonio, Texas. I'm also a proud alum of 2017 and the coordinator for athletic recruitment. So if there are any student athletes on the call, would love to connect. So today I'm just going to use our time to go over our 5 big distinctions at Trinity University, what makes us unique. First and foremost, it's going to be our size. We are actually bigger than most liberal arts and sciences universities, about that medium 2,500 students. Our 9-to-1 student faculty ratio shakes out to about a 15 to 20 student class size. So you're getting really engaging roundtable discussions with the PhD in the room. You're not being taught by a graduate assistant or a peer. It's really with the expert in the room. Our classrooms are indoors. They are also outdoors pre-COVID. Our campus still takes advantage of the beautiful weather in San Antonio and lots of outdoor classroom space for that as well. But this also creates fantastic mentorship for students and their professors along the way. I remember fond memories of being invited to my Chinese professor's house at the end of every semester. We celebrated surviving the semester by her teaching us how to cook a new Chinese dish, which I'm confident was not in her job description. So I think that is a good picture of why our faculty are ranked number 6 in the nation. Our second big distinction is what I like to call our Trinity twist. This is our really creative approach to the liberal arts and sciences. You're not going to see this liberal arts foundation with also this offering of pre-professional programs anywhere else. We have an accredited school of business, top 33 engineering program in the nation, the oldest computer science program in Texas. Our communications department is very robust with an HD live TV studio on campus, as well as a radio station that broadcasts live across San Antonio. And our education program is top 10. What's really neat about Trinity is you don't need to know exactly what you want to study right as you apply, or even during your first year. You actually don't formally declare until the end of your sophomore year. That's intentional. We encourage students to kind of buffet style across the curriculum and take classes that sound interesting to you. And then it's by working with your academic advisor one-on-one that they help you declare your major, or oftentimes at Trinity, 40% of our students are double majoring. And even in some really fun combinations, like mixing humanities with STEM. So there are no compromises here. If you have interest in a lot of different areas, we want to see you through that. Our third big distinction is going to be our resources. We have a $1.5 billion endowment, again, all funneled to that smaller class size, 2,500 undergraduate students. First and foremost, this is going to our generous awarding of both need-based and merit aid. I think we're ranked #1 in the country for that. We are committed to help students to and through Trinity so that they're not graduating with any debt. Beyond that, though, you're going to see that investing in just the physical plant of the campus. Actually, this building that I'm floating around in my virtual background right now is a $130 million science building that was ranked #2 in the country for undergraduate science. But for this slide here, just talking about our residential life experience, we're a residential campus. Students live on campus for the first 3 years. Actually, we believe it's really an integral part in getting to know Trinity's community, tapping into all the fun opportunities outside of class. Fourth big distinction is definitely our location. We are not some small liberal arts school in the middle of a cornfield. And I can say that because I'm originally from Iowa, and that was like why I chose Trinity, is because it struck that great balance. It was the best of both worlds, having that personalized attention on campus, but then big city resources at my doorstep. And literally, I mean, it's 3 miles away. We're 5 minutes away from the international airport. So for out-of-state students, you can tell your parents it's really no stress. It's also exciting that we are in the 7th largest city in the country, and the economy is phenomenal here. Companies in Texas know the quality of a Trinity graduate, and even a Trinity student. So lots of internship opportunities at your disposal. We're also very connected in community service. In San Antonio, about 80% of our students give back on a regular basis. And fun fact, our mayor is a Trinity alum and was a notorious late night DJ in that radio station I talked to you about that's broadcast on Trinity's campus. Last, but certainly not least, I'm going to talk about our diversity. For a school our size, we're incredibly diverse, and that's diversity broadly defined, right? So socioeconomic diversity, religious identity, political affiliation, you name it, geographic, absolutely. California is a really big pool for us. So the idea is that we're not recreating your high school experience, you're rubbing shoulders or standing 6 feet apart from students from all different backgrounds, so that you're prepared to go into a world that looks like that. And really, I also wanted to highlight, we have fun too. So definitely explore our different club organizations as well as the arts. You don't have to be a formally declared major in the arts to actually participate. I don't have time to go over the nuts and bolts of application and scholarships, things like that. Just no application fee, no supplemental essay, and we are test optional. So I look forward to working with you. I'll put my contact in the chat. Thank you.
Very helpful information. Thank you. Just a friendly reminder, if anyone has any questions, to please feel free to submit those through the Q&A. Our representatives are here and available to answer your questions. And if you have a specific question, to also note the school name. The next representative is from Swarthmore College.
All right, thank you, Catherine, and welcome everybody. I'm going to be speaking a little bit about Swarthmore College, and I hope everyone's able to see my screen. So my name is Yokwin Jo. I use she, her pronouns. I'm Assistant Dean of Admissions and also the Regional Director for Northern California. So if you want to learn more about Swarthmore or liberal arts or admissions writ large, feel free to use me as a resource. Here's my email, which we'll also put in the chat box after the presentation. So really high level kind of big picture about who we are as an institution. So we're a small Private College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, as well as engineering, located right outside the city of Philadelphia on the East Coast. We're a small college, so roughly about 1,600 students who represent all 50 states in the United States, as well as over 85 countries in the world. There are over 40 programs of study to choose from. And what's really important about our community is this historical commitment to social justice, access equity, as well as inclusiveness and affordability of higher education. So we sort of talked about a little bit about liberal arts with our colleague from Trinity, but just to touch on that a bit more, right? What is liberal arts? It's really a well-rounded education that makes sure that you walk away with transferable skills that make you successful at whatever you choose to do later on in life, right? So it's flexible and it makes you a creative problem solver and exposes the world to you through the multiple lenses of different disciplines and different fields of study. And on top of that, you get to share a lot of resources with not that many students, right? So these are usually small residential communities where you'll get to make really close and meaningful relationships with your professors as well as your peers. And you get to share some of those really generous resources when it comes to financial aid, right? Funding for internships and doing research really with the professors that teach you and taking advantage of emergency funding and equitable study abroad programs as well. So here's where Swarthmore is, if you're not familiar with kind of the East Coast geography, right outside the city of Philly. This is kind of the skyline of Philadelphia from our campus, and halfway in between New York City and Washington, D.C. So really easy to get to other major cities on the East Coast as well. And we're blessed to be so close to a major city. There's actually a train station right at the foot of campus, and it takes you straight into downtown Philadelphia in about 25 minutes. So you get to enjoy all that Philly has to offer, from great food, right, performances, concerts, sports games, as well as opportunities for internships and digging through some archives to do research or taking classes at the University of Pennsylvania as well. But at the same time, we're able to enjoy this immense natural beauty around us. Our campus is actually a national arboretum, so over 400 acres of beautiful woods. We have a creek that runs through it. There are lots of hiking trails where you can go on and explore, and of course, an outdoor amphitheater. And this is also where our commencement takes place. And with an area that is very concentrated with colleges, universities in suburban Philadelphia, we also have some partnerships. So we share pretty much everything with two other liberal arts colleges, Haverford and Bryn Mawr. So you can take their classes, right, use their dining hall, go to their events, see their performances. And you can also cross-register and take classes at the University of Pennsylvania, which is in the city of Philadelphia. And speaking of academics, right, so there are lots of ways to customize your own education, and there's lots of flexibility in how you want to shape your unique academic path. So there are a number of interdisciplinary programs, such as gender and sexuality studies, peace and conflict studies, East Asian studies, Latinx and Latino studies, to really get you to examine the intersections of different fields of study. And students can also design their own major if it's not currently an existing major or a department, where you get to draw from multiple different disciplines and work with professors from different departments to figure out your own academic niche. And we also have engineering, which is rare for a small liberal arts college. So it's a fully accredited general engineering degree accredited by ABET that invites you to look at all the sub areas of engineering. And there's also dedicated advising for students who are thinking about medical school or law school. So we're able to have a lot of success in that realm of sending 84% admission rate to medical school students to med school, and then about 92% admission rate to law school. Both are much higher than the national average. And last but not least, there's a very unique honors program. There's no other program like this in the US, where you get to do really kind of in-depth learning on specific topics and get to be examined at the end of your college career by world experts on these very matters. Now, what's unique about kind of the academic environment at Swarthmore is that it's very much collaborative, and we mean that because there are actually policies set in place. The very first semester is entirely pass-fail, so no grades, yay, first semester. We want you to figure life out, right? We want to figure out how to be a college student first, and we want you to work with each other. So when grades are not part of the question, students tend to work together a lot more, right? We also do not publish a GPA all 4 years. Of course, you can calculate it yourself, but that is very much not the focus of education. We want you to take intellectual risks, and we want you to work with each other. So you never hear students ask each other, hey, what did you get on that paper? Instead they'll ask, how did you do this? Like, can we do it together? Another really important piece about kind of the Swarthmore community, like I mentioned earlier, is our kind of dedication to social justice. And the students who are attracted to this space are also deeply invested in the issues around the world, right? Being able to contribute to the common good and being engaged in civic and social responsibility issues and projects around the college campus and beyond, right? So they're close to $1 million dedicated to just supporting students in those efforts. And because we're coming up on time, I will skip kind of the activities, right? So lots of options, over 120 clubs to choose from. And speaking of the financial piece, we are need blind, which means we don't consider your ability to pay when we admit you, and we meet full determined need from your family, 100% without any loans. So the three pieces are need blind, meet full need without loans. And the average aid award is about $56,000 every year. And the vast majority of our students graduate without any student debt. So I look forward to answering questions and make connections. I will drop my email in the chat box and turn it over to my next colleague.
Thank you. We really appreciate it. The next representative is from Marist College.
Great. Good evening. My name is Corinne Schell, and I'm Director of West Coast Admission at Marist College. I am a Marist graduate. My husband, son, daughter, sister, niece, nephew, twin nieces. So needless to say, I'm a little passionate about Marist and all that it offers our students. We are a private four-year liberal arts college located in Poughkeepsie, New York, approximately an hour and a half north of New York City. I do find that students from the West, what they love about our location is that we're close enough to a major city like New York, but we're not in it, but easily accessible, as we're about a mile from the train. The picture you're looking at here is of our campus from the Hudson River. I refer to it as the Academic Country Club. It's an absolutely stunning campus, which offers very strong academics, as well as wonderful social location for our students, with everything from clubs and organizations to our Division I School for Sports. Also in Poughkeepsie is Vassar College, which is across town. Culinary Institute of America is about a mile up the road. Bard College is a half hour north. West Point is about an hour south across the river. There's a community college in town and a state university about a half hour west. So needless to say, within a very small proximity, there's quite a few colleges and universities. So we are known as the Marist Red Foxes. That is our mascot. We are a little over 5,100 undergraduate students, so not too big, not too small, very difficult for our students to get lost in the crowd or even fall between the cracks. All of our classes are taught by faculty. There are no teaching assistant, no lecture halls, and most of our faculty will be teaching more in a visual type of environment. So very constructive conversation, which students absolutely love. The faculty members not lecturing at you, they're lecturing with you. And then we do offer well over 40 different majors for students to choose from. And as a liberal arts college, a big major for incoming freshmen tends to be undecided. And that's okay. You have plenty of time to figure out what it is that you would like to study. Our students are represented from 47 different states in the country, as well as 64 different countries. We do have close to about 1,000 online graduate students, and we do offer many of our different majors where a student can get their bachelor's and their master's in 5 years. So all of the asterisk programs here, whether it's communications, business, computer science, psychology, you can get a 5-year bachelor's and master's in that period. Some very popular majors at Marist are business administration. We have concentrations in finance, human resource management, international business and marketing. We also have an active investment center on campus, so our students are trading on Wall Street Monday through Friday with real money. Fashion design, fashion merchandising, we're 5th in the country, 25th in the world for our program. But what's great about Marist is that you're going to get a degree, not just take fashion classes. One of our alums runs New York City Fashion Week, so our students are actively involved with that and do internships such as Salvatore Ferragamo, Gucci, Prada, Escada, study at our campus in Florence, Italy, London, or Paris. Communications is also very popular, everything from advertising to public relations to journalism to sports communication and computer science. 90% of those students have jobs before they even enter their senior year. Music to a parent's ears, 98% of our students are employed or in grad school within 6 months of graduation. And then we do talk a lot about our Florence campus because it is a Marist campus. We are actually the only school in Florence that offers a full 4-year bachelor's degree program. We do have a freshman program. We have fully furnished apartments and dorms. There's a cooking class. All classes are taught in English. And you have a majority of Fridays off, which enable you to travel extensively throughout Europe. And then study abroad, very popular at Marist. More than half of our students will study abroad to well over 70 different destinations around the world, whether it's semester program, we have 2 short-term programs, and then we do have the first-year program in Florence, Italy, as well as in Dublin, Ireland at the Dublin Business College. We are also a Division I school for sports. We offer 23 varsity, 12 women, 11 men. The majority of our women on the water polo team are from California, as well as the women on the softball team. We do have 16 club sports, everything from equestrian to ice hockey to men's volleyball, men's and women's rugby, cheerleading, and then we do have a very strong intramural program. Majority of our students do live on campus. This picture here is one of our latest housing options, suite style, 4 suite, 4 bedrooms, so you all have your own room, unobstructed view of the Hudson River, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful buildings. And then 90% of our students will receive some form of financial aid. We only use the FAFSA, and then we do offer merit-based scholarships for our students. We have theater, we have music scholarships, everything from music to choral, theater, debate, and then we do participate with the Army ROTC. Again, we're very close to West Point. We do offer a pre-college program. Check it out. It's an amazing program at Marist, 3 college credits. And then we do participate in the Common App. We have our own app or the Coalition. And then we have been open the past year for in-person visits, self-guided tours. There's virtual programs. And then please, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. I will put my contact information into the chat, and I look forward to hearing from you. Take care.
All great information. Just another friendly reminder that if you have any questions at all, to feel free to submit those through the Q&A. Any questions about the college application process or even about a specific school, you can note that in the Q&A, and we encourage you to also include the school name. Our next representative is from the University of Miami.
Great. Thank you so much, Catherine. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining tonight. My name is Jenny Antonelli, and I'm an assistant director at the University of Miami, and I cover the Bay Area. So to get started, I'm going to give you some high-level facts about the university. So we were founded in 1925, so we're a much younger university than a lot of other schools. We are also a lot smaller than a lot of people think. So we have about 10,000 undergraduate students and about 6,000 grad students. So most of people see our big sports teams on TV. We are a Division I school, so a lot of people think we are this big state school. We have about 50,000 students, and that's not the case. You really are a name and a face and not a number at the University of Miami. Our average classes range from 16 to 27 students, so you really do get to know your professors, and they really get to know you. We have 11 schools and colleges, and we have more than 180 majors and programs that fall into these schools and colleges. 9 of them are undergraduate, and then we have our Miller School of Medicine and our law school. Now, we are a direct admit university. So what that means is if you know what it is that you're interested in studying, then you would put that down on your application. And if you're admitted, you'll start out in that major within that school or college. So you'll get to start taking classes in your major your first year. So you'll know very early on if it's something that you like. And if it isn't, then you have more time to change your mind and to change your major. If you don't know what it is that you want to study, that's okay. That's part of what college is about. You have a few years to figure it out. You would put down undecided, and you'll start out in the College of Arts and Sciences, and you'll start taking classes in different areas to see what piques your interest. Now, in terms of what major you put down in your application, you may be wondering, well, is it easier to get in if I put down one particular major than another? Your major does not factor into our admission process unless you are looking at architecture or the performing arts. So for architecture, we recommend a portfolio. For the performing arts, in the Frost School of Music and the Theater BFA program, we do require an audition. So those are weighed in the admission process. Otherwise, we are looking for the best fit student to attend the University of Miami, regardless of major. Now, in terms of academics, we have something that is structured a little bit more differently than most other universities. We have something called the Cognates Program of General Education. Now, a cognate is a set of 3 courses that are related to one another. You have to fulfill 3 cognates, 1 in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, 1 in arts and humanities, and 1 in people and society. So you have to take 3 classes in each of those 3 areas of knowledge. Your major will automatically complete one of those 3 categories. Of course, you're going to have more than 3 classes to complete your major, so you really just have to focus on the other 2. So it's really just 6 other courses that you need, and that will complete your gen eds. You can take these cognates at any point in time. Like I mentioned, you're starting out in your major if you know what it is that you want to study. So you're taking your cognates as well as those major courses. So it's not like some other schools where you take your general education requirements your first 2 years and then your major courses your last 2 years. We say that our students are the architect of their own education. You have the flexibility to design your curriculum in terms of what classes you take, as well as when you take those classes. A lot of our students call these cognates mini minors. You've already taken 3 classes in something similar to one another. You take 2 to 3 more and you have a minor. You take a few more than that and now you have a double major. So you really won't meet a student who only has 1 major. Other thing I'd like to mention is we are a research-based institution. We are able to do research regardless of major. I know you see STEM pictures on the screen there, but regardless of what your major is, if you're interested in doing research, you can do it as early as your first year. Something else that's important to note is where we are located. So we are the University of Miami. We are actually in a suburb of Miami known as Coral Gables. I like to say students have the best of both worlds. You have your campus feel, you don't have busy streets running through your campus, but then everything that goes along with a big city, you have right in your backyard. So all the different cultures, performing arts centers, the museums, the professional sports, and then of course, jobs and internships. A lot of companies have offices in Miami. We are the crossroads of the Americas. So you do have those opportunities for jobs and internships just a few miles away from campus. Our campus is 7 miles from downtown. And then the last thing that I want to mention is we have 4 different pools for students to apply into. We are on the Common App, and we have 2 different early decision pools to apply into. The biggest thing to note for that is all students are considered for scholarships at the time of admission, regardless of which of these 4 pools you apply into. You're automatically considered for scholarships that range from $5,000 to $30,000. But if you apply by our November 1st deadline, so that is early decision 1 or early action, then you are eligible for our premier scholarships. Those are full cost of attendance and full cost of tuition. I know everyone is wondering if we are going to be test optional. That is still up in the air, so please stay tuned. But otherwise, that wraps it up for me. So I am going to turn it back to Catherine.
Awesome, thank you. Our last representative, but certainly not least, is from Olin College of Engineering.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Dan Johnston, and I am Olin College of Engineering's Regional Admission Counselor. And tonight I'm going to tell you a little bit about Olin, who we are, and what we do. So to get started, I'll go ahead and talk a little bit about where we're located. So Olin College of Engineering is located in a suburb of Boston, Needham, Massachusetts, about 30 minutes outside of the city. We have 330 students. We are all undergraduate, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a little bit. Everything that we do is driven by this idea of engineering for good. How can we use engineering and technology to provide positive change in the world? Next thing I'll point out is why here. So Olin College, we are a relatively young institution. So we were founded in the late 90s, had our first graduating class in 2006. And you may be wondering why, why have another small private school in the Boston area? Certainly aren't there enough of them. But really, we had a unique opportunity to join two other amazing institutions, Babson College and Wellesley College. So Babson is one of really the premier business and entrepreneurship institutions in the country. And similarly, Wellesley is an all-women's liberal arts college that is one of the top ones in the country as well. And so we kind of fit right in the middle there, and we form what's called the BOW collaboration. The BOW collaboration enables students to take classes at different institutions so students can cross-register. And if you think about it from the engineering context, engineering is always bringing something new to the market. It's always bringing something new to society on the cutting edge of technology. Wouldn't it be great if you wanted to start a company and had a business background? You were able to take some finance and some management courses, things like that, some entrepreneurship courses at a place like Babson. Really an amazing opportunity. All right, so how do we do this? How do we do this idea of engineering for the good of the world? First of all, is our curriculum is all undergraduate, so our student body is all undergraduate, and we have a focus in small supportive communities. So a couple things here. One of the reasons why we are all undergraduate, and that is on purpose, is to eliminate the kind of competitiveness and ways that professors have limited access to undergraduate students, especially lower division, first and second years. Because we are all undergraduate, our students have a very great relationship with our professors, and they have access to what professors are doing in their labs. Many of our professors, almost all of them, are still involved in research and in their discipline, their engineering discipline. And so oftentimes they're doing research, they're doing lab work. And because we don't have any master's or PhD level students on campus, there's a lot of access and a lot of opportunity for our students. So that's one of the reasons why. And also the small supportive learning communities. And that kind of goes to my next slide here, where our curriculum is rooted in teamwork, project-based learning, and practical skills. So if you think about what happens after graduation, really no matter what profession you go into, you are going to be working on a team. You are going to have to know how to work with other people. You're going to have to know how to handle conflicts. So our curriculum, instead of having kind of separate a separate pathway for leadership or something like that, our students, that's just built into what we are learning and the way we are learning. Also, in this project-based learning, this is definitely one of the reasons a lot of students are interested in Olin, and why they choose Olin is because of this project-based learning. And essentially what that means is students are going to be learning, using projects. They're going to be learning using their hands. They're not going to have like a big lecture hall where there's 200 or 300 people in a lecture, and then they go to a lab later on in the week or something like that, and to reinforce what the professor was saying. They're going to be learning and being reinforced with the professor right there through project, through hands-on, through developing practical skills. So whether they have to use a breadboard and learn how to build a circuit right there, whether they're in the machine shop and they have to machine something for a project they're working on. They're going to be learning a lot of practical skills and being hands-on. Next is that we have a focus on design, arts, humanities, social sciences, and entrepreneurship. So you heard me mention that we are an engineering school. I like to say that we are an all engineering school, not just an engineering school. And again, we go back to this idea of engineering for good. In order for us to keep this idea of providing positive change for the world and for society, we have to keep the humanities, we have to keep the social sciences a part of what we do, so that arts and humanities are a major part of what our students do, and one of the ways that we're able to keep this kind of human component to what we're doing within engineering, not just designing cool new things for other engineers. Now, our majors that we have, like I said, we're an engineering school, mechanical engineering, electrical and computer engineering. And then we do have a general engineering degree with different concentrations. You can see the concentrations there: design, computing or computer science, robotics, bioengineering. And then we do have a self-design option. And then kind of finishing up here, some specs of Olin of what students are doing after graduation. What you see on the screen here are some of our largest employers. and internship providers. So certainly a lot of the big tech companies, you can see 100% of our grads did at least one technical internship. Most of them did more than one. Starting salary is around $90,000 as well. And I'll finish up here with the application process. It is a multi-step process that is somewhat unique that I would love to talk with you more about in a virtual information session. And I'll say that Olin does meet 100% of demonstrated need based off of the FAFSA, and every student that gets admitted to Olin gets a scholarship that's guaranteed that is half the value of tuition, regardless of citizenship status or income or anything like that. It's half the value of tuition. So thank you so much for allowing me to speak with you, and have a great night.
Awesome, thank you. We do have a little bit of time left, and so at this point, we're going to go ahead and pivot into our Q&A portion of this session. I invite all our representatives to turn on their cameras and get ready to unmute themselves for our first question, which is, what advice would you give someone going through the college search process? Again, what advice would you give someone going through the college search process? And if you all can answer in the same order in which you all presented it.
Thanks so much, Catherine. I think I know that this can be a very overwhelming process. There are so many fantastic options out there. So I would say start to hone in on what you really want in a college. And if that feels like too big of a question to answer, maybe think about what you don't want in a college. There are a lot of really great virtual resources that exist out there to start exploring schools. So definitely take advantage of all that we have to offer. And I'll pass this off to Trinity.
Oh, that's great, Maria. I like that advice. This might sound old-fashioned, but one thing I would recommend when you're doing more college visits is, whether it's on your notes app or a sheet of paper, right after the visit, make a pro-con list. Just don't even think about it, whatever comes to mind, and then revisit that later down the road, maybe after you visited a handful of other colleges, because I can tell you they might start to blend together. So it just, you'll thank yourself later on, and then you'll have something to look back on.
I love both of those two pieces of advice. I think they're really well said. And my piece would be to try to connect with current students as much as you can, especially at this time where you're not able to visit colleges for the most part. Hopefully that will happen soon, but try to make connections with students who might share, your hometown or your experiences or your identity, or your background, to really get a sense of what life is like for a student like yourself. And many colleges will have, those resources online where you can ask a current student, or you can even email one of us, right? So we can connect you with a current student or people who would really speak to that experience. And it's the most, unfiltered, genuine, right, answers to all of your questions. So definitely take advantage of that.
Yeah, and great advice. And I have to second all of those, but have fun with it, and make sure that you do your research on the different universities, because you're going to hear two words over the course of the next year or two, is fit and depends. And you've got 6 colleges and universities right here, and we are all different. You got 2-year, 4-year, public, private, international, domestic, non-denominational, religious. So you just do your research and see what fits for you. And remember, it's a fit for you and it's a fit for the school.
All of that is great. I agree with everything that's been said as well. Going off of a little bit of that, when you're doing your research, look at all the opportunities that schools have available to you right now. In this virtual world, there are a lot more opportunities than students had a couple years ago. So there's so many different things to do. Some schools are hosting school and college receptions. You can hear specifically about things that interest you. You can participate in a student panel. You can hear, of course, the information session, but definitely take a look at all those opportunities and different ways for you to be able to connect with the schools.
My bit of advice, I really don't know what more I can add to that, but I guess we'll maybe hone in a little bit more. So after you've kind of taken advantage of the virtual information sessions and those virtual opportunities, I would suggest, if it's available, do an interview with an admissions staff member, just because it's, sometimes demonstrated interest can be a part of the application process, but also it just keeps you on your admission counselor's radar, and it can help. Having that one-on-one session can really help identify things that you like or don't like about that particular institution. So you're that's the next step, is you're kind of drilling down and getting a little bit more specific about the schools that you may be interested in applying to.
So much great advice. Thank you so much to our representatives for sharing, for being here. We really appreciate it. Great advice is always helpful, again, when it comes from those who work at their respective institutions. And thank you to each of you for joining us. We have now reached the conclusion of this session. As we close, there will be a very quick 4-question survey that will appear on your browser. If you don't mind taking a moment to fill that out for us, your feedback is really helpful. There are more sessions happening. This is just one of many college presentations being offered. Feel free to sign up for more. And lastly, this session is being recorded and will be available at strivescan.com/BACS. Again, thank you all and have a great night.